Hey guys, so if you are watching this, that means you are in my podcast world, the podcasting for women in business, or you follow me on socials. And I really want to go into what it really takes to be successful in the podcast game, in the monetizing your show, even creating a brand from your show. One of the things that I notice in all of this is that I see people go into podcasting and not realize how much work it actually takes to be successful. And it's not even really like the work that you think it is. It is really more about the inner work. Like literally, it is all about the feeling of how to manage overwhelm, how to manage, you know, doing the thing and not getting results yet. How do you manage that? How do you manage being able to push your mission and purpose forward, even if your audience is small or you might not even have an audience, you see? And I want you guys to think about like your mental space and how you push forward, even though sometimes it can be really, um, what's the word? Unmotivating. Some days you're like, I really don't feel like doing this today, or is it even worth doing it? What if this doesn't even work out in the end and I just put in a ton of work and it just doesn't pan out? And these are moments where I want you guys to think about what happens during that time for you. Do you continue to go down that rabbit hole of negativity? Or do you do something to change that energy? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today is what do you do when you find that vibe of not being productive, feeling kind of shitty, feeling like what the hell, this should be fun, but it's not. And I want you guys to think about what do you have in place in terms of reinforcement when that happens to you mentally, when that happens to you emotionally, physically, what happens to you in your mind, right? Because the more we dive into the ability that you can actually change that thought process and really change the energy around creating content, creating podcast episodes, taking action in the programs you guys are in the trainings you've invested in with me or other people, the faster you can change that, the faster you can actually get results. Now, a lot of people stop themselves because of the like, well, I don't really know what to do when I'm in that vibe. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who to talk to. I feel like no one really understands what I'm doing. That's why the community is there for you to be able to have some sort of network. And I'm also there because I want you guys to know that you have more than just me. You have the network. You even have other communities I'm sure you're a part of, right? But I want you guys to start thinking about the empowerment that you may need, and you need to learn how to empower yourselves when you're in that funk, right? And when yesterday I filmed the assignment for the Wealthy Podcast Training. I filmed that for everybody who had submitted their answers to me, and I filmed that, answered some of the questions. And I remember one of the biggest things that I got was, how do I keep going even though I feel like I'm bored? I got that several times. And that's where you kind of want to look at, are you talking about the thing you really want to talk about? Right? Do you have a show around the content or topic piece or niche that you really want to be into and really want to do for the rest of your life? And if it's not, and maybe it's only for this season, then maybe that's the reason why you are bored. Now, if you are bored, don't ever quit your show. I don't think you should stop your show altogether. I think you should build on your show. And if it evolves into something different, that's okay, right? Because in a sense, you still have your show, you're still growing your show. And sometimes growing your show means that it evolves into different aspects of the phases you're in your life. And that's fine. In your life, your business, your personal life, your career life, whatever, your mom life, whatever life you want to share on your show, it could evolve. You don't have to get rid of the first show, the first podcast. You can evolve your show into different things. So I want you guys to start thinking about ways you can shift your energy when it comes to really, harnessing the inner power that we all have. We all have that inner power, that feeling of I can do this, right? That feeling of I'm excited, I'm enthused, I'm ready to record this episode, whatever that looks like. How do we get into those moments when we're in the funk? And this is a big one because this is mindset, right? This is energetic mindset. How you talk on your show, really the audience will feel it. How you show up on your show, the audience will feel that. And if you consistently show up with low energy, kudos to you for showing up, but that also means you have to work on your energy. You have to work on your output, right? What is it that's lowering your energy? Maybe even the way you have your show created. Like maybe it's this whole production, which is really tedious for you. That is where I think the easiness, creating an easy way to record your show is really helpful. I know for me it's helpful because I am a busy mom. I run my own coaching business. I have a ton of things happening in my life where I don't want to have to record my show and have to take all this time, all this editing time, all this just time to create one show. I like to create my show on the go. I am very much not a perfectionist. I love to create like that. It's very spontaneous of me. I also feel like it's very authentic and it really allows me to be consistent in creating my show. I am now over 200 plus episodes now. My goal this year is to reach 300 episodes, which means I have to record about 70 more episodes, which is fine and I can totally do it. But I don't have a stringent requirement on show recording. Like I don't have to have this huge production. I don't need fancy equipment. I don't need a place to do it. Mind you, my office does have like soundproof. This is actually soundproof this here. But I do have it because I think it looks pretty. And it's also very helpful when I start talking really loud and my office is at home and my kids are going to be like, Mom, you're loud, or my husband's going to be like, hey, keep it down. So it really does help with like keeping down the noise in here and also the noise from outside. But for the most part, I am not super techie when it comes to my podcast. I am all about creating content and creating podcast episodes authentically without having all that heavy, like, how do you put this together? How do I edit this? How do I take this? Like, I just don't need to do that. It really will drain the energy out of me. And so if you guys feel that way, where it's like, I don't like the production part, it's not that fun, I suggest to do it simpler. I record on my phone. I literally record the podcast episode on my phone, add the music on my phone, and I started off on anchor.fm, which is now called Podcasts, Spotify for podcasts. Now, the thing about that is that you don't fully own your own episodes, which is fine for me because I am not depending on my podcast show. I'm not. My bigger profitable area in my business is my coaching program and all the courses that I sell. That is all of my intellectual property. That is my ownership, right? The podcast episodes and all of the things that I create via my podcast is just more ancillary things for people to find me and then determine whether they want to work for me. So it's kind of ancillary to my business. It's not my only thing in my business. That's another thing I want to talk to you guys about, is that creating money with your podcast doesn't have to look one way. And I think a lot of people think, they come into my world and they think, oh, I want to monetize, but they have it in their head that they're monetizing this one way that they know. And I have figured out all sorts of ways to monetize my show. Every single possible way I've figured out how to monetize it, and not the way you assume. And it's never that, never that. And it's easier than you think, literally easier than you think. You have money all around, you just have to figure out how's a creative way to access money? How do people actually want to work with me because I have all of this intellectual property that I can share with people, right? Intellectual property is kind of like courses, programs. In this case, podcast episodes is intellectual property. But the thing about it is that people want to be in front of more people. So you, as a podcast host and podcast owner, you have a job to get those companies that want to be in front of more people and actually get them as an organization that sponsors you. They don't know you yet, therefore you have to do the legwork to find them. And you can find smaller boutiques, smaller organizations that are open to doing that with you. And you guys, there's so many companies out here, so many smaller boutiques, smaller companies that really want to be in front of more people, more niche down audiences that's super highly curated, that will help them get in front of more people. That is the curated audience, which is you. And you have that asset, right? And so the goal here is to really find, it's like your personal power behind all of this, right? It's your personal power in how do I, get courageous enough to talk to people? How do I get courageous enough to get in front of organizations and let them know, hey, this is my audience. This is what they love listening to. And I think your programs, your brand, your services, your products align with that. Would you be opening and partnering with me? And we could do some advertising for you throughout the month of July, whatever that looks like. And that is where you guys take initiative in making your business a business. You don't just sit there and create episodes and just sit and wait for people to find you. That is just not how it works. Same thing for people who try to run a business on social media. You don't just create content and just sit there. You have to do some legwork. You have to do some sort of, outreach. You have to do some sort of finding people. You have to figure out how do you find more people? And how you do that is you got to do some outreach yourself. You have to do some legwork. If you figure out a different way, there's different ways you can do it, like joining Facebook communities. Like my Facebook community is massive. You can totally reach out to people and see if you guys want to do collaborations with people, because in that sense, you are able to get in front of more people. You see, collaborations is really fun. You just have to make sure you are finding people that are energetically in alignment with you. Otherwise, it just will feel kind of forced and weird. I've done that numerous times, and I just remember feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So definitely keep and check in with yourself and see, do I even want to have that kind of partnership? Do I like the vibe? Is the energy aligned? And if it is, go for it. If it's not, don't go for it. Simple as that. So one of the things I do want you guys to take away from this is that what is it that you have built in your reinforcement in your life, where if you feel low, if you feel kind of crappy, if you feel like, oh, I can't make moves right now, today is not the day, what do you have in your realm to help you get out of that vibe? What do you have in your energy field? Not energy field, I'm sorry to speak esoteric, but what do you have as a reinforcement to help you move out of that, right? You could look up YouTube videos that are motivational. You could look up Audible books. I love Audible books that are super motivational. You could look up maybe podcast episodes that are super motivational that can kind of shift your energy. And that's really helpful, I know, for me when I feel kind of funky and just out of whack sometimes, which is totally normal. What do? I love to journal. I'll show you guys my journal. I have a journal that I keep nearby because I just love jotting down things. I love talking about writing down ideas. Even emotionally, if I feel kind of wacky, I'll write that down and kind of just journal it out, and eventually that energy kind of moves away and kind of goes and releases out into the world, and it's no longer in me, right? So I want you guys to figure out a way to expel. How do you move out of that lower vibration, just that unproductiveness, maybe even that heavy feeling? How do you move out of that? Maybe even working out, taking a walk outside, getting some fresh air. Maybe watching a movie. Don't binge too much, because that's how they get you. These TV shows get you where you're not doing anything, you're not productive, but enough to get you moving out of that energy, okay? Because the goal for podcasting monetization is that you need to have episodes in your show to even monetize. So if you don't have enough, that is the number one goal. Start creating episodes. Start pushing out some content. If you already have content in the past that you have on social media, maybe you're a coach or some sort of service provider and you've created things in the past, you can take those, turn them into an audible audio file and upload them into your podcast. I've done that all the time. And I think that's what helped me get into several hundred episodes, because I've done so many lives, so many trainings, just so many things that I've done in the past that I put into my show. If you have that, definitely repurpose it on your podcast. Okay, so that is a quick video here for finding motivation through your podcast journey, what to do and what not to do in your podcast, and then also a little bit of repurposing. I hope this helps you in your journey. Again, we have the Wealthy Podcast Training available still at the pre-sale rate. It will change. I don't want you guys to sleep on the pre-sale rate, because the moment it does go to full price, you are going to absolutely regret it, and I don't want you to. So I want you to get into the Wealthy Podcast Training at the pre-sale rate. The pre-sale rate does allow you to have the 8 bonuses. Once it goes to full price, the bonuses are no longer available. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of that, because sometimes I see a lot of people clicking on it and not really pushing forward. I don't want you guys to miss out on the pre-sale rate and miss out on the bonuses. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Just get into the training now. You can also send me your homework, because I have created the first assignment video. Now I'm gonna get I'm still getting some answers, so I'm gonna wait for a little bit more of you guys to respond to my first assignment, and then I'll create a second video answering some of those questions. So dive in, go to I'm not going to tell you the link because that's kind of weird. Just click the link down here, okay, for the pre-sale of the Wealthy Podcast Training. See you guys inside. Mwah.